I am a garbage man. Probably not the type of garbage man you normally would think of. I'm not going to be at your curb tomorrow morning taking your trash out. Now, see, I'm a garbage man because I believe garbage is powerful. I believe garbage has potential. I just really love garbage. And I realize that makes me seem a little bit too much like Oscar the Grouch. But actually, I'm an environmental attorney, and I work for Global Energy Solutions, an energy company that builds biomass power plants. Now that's just a fancy way of saying we burn things to create power. Everything but fossil fuels, that is. So we can use a number of different fuels, like agricultural waste, such as coconut shells, or commercial waste, like paper rejects from a paper plant, or what I feel is the most dynamic fuel, garbage. Now I want to talk to you today about the power of garbage. But it's more than that. It's an idea called waste to energy. And it's not a new idea, but we're applying new technology in exciting ways that has the power to change everything. But before we talk about all the benefits of waste to energy systems, we have to understand our garbage. So first, let's discuss how much garbage do we really have, and where does it all go at the end of the day? Now, the average American creates about 4.3 pounds of garbage every day, which is about what this bag is right here. So just a quick show of hands, how many people threw out something today? Be honest? Okay, all right. That's okay. You know, this is the society we live in. But that starts to add up, because every week then, the average American is creating 30.1 pounds of garbage. An average family of 4, that's over 100 pounds per week. And when you start to scale this nationally, the numbers get pretty big pretty quickly. It's not really the picture of America you want to see. But it's a pretty accurate picture, because every year we are creating about 250 million tons of garbage in this country. 250 million tons. I have no idea what that means. That's a really big number. Like, I don't even know what a ton is. So how do you visualize 250 million tons? Well, what could help us is if we take the average volume of garbage and you were to put it in the Sears Tower, or the Willis Tower if you want to use the new name, you would have 53 million cubic feet of garbage from the bottom floor up to the 110th floor of the 5th tallest building in the world, 53 million cubic feet. But see, America actually produces 18 billion cubic feet of garbage every year. That's 350 Sears Towers of garbage every year. That's a lot of trash. But it can get even worse, because if we think globally, the United Nations is predicting that the world population could exceed 10 billion by the year 2050. And if waste generation rates continue to increase, we could have trillions of tons of garbage being produced every year. It's scary. But it's not all bad news, because not all the garbage that we throw out actually ends up in the waste stream. In fact, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency tells us that in America, about 30% of our garbage actually gets recycled. That's pretty good. A lot of other countries do better, but 30% is a good start. And of course, the best way to reduce the waste stream up front is to reduce, reuse, and recycle from the very beginning, whether you're a consumer or a business. But unfortunately, recycling practices right now, the technology just isn't there to handle the waste stream we're creating. So that means 70% is ending up right here. 70% of that 250 million tons a year is ending up at one of 2,000 landfills across the United States. Now, landfilling has been an option for a long time. But there are problems with landfilling our garbage. There are lots of problems, but let's just talk about 2 today. The first problem with landfills is transportation. You've got to get the garbage from where it is to the dump site. Now, in Chicago, most of our garbage actually gets sent over 100 miles away, either to central Illinois or to Indiana. You have to get it from that urban center and truck it all the way out there. In Long Island, 300 18-wheeler semi-trucks leave Long Island every morning and head west with all the garbage from the island. That's a lot of fuel that you're spending to truck that garbage to a dump site. And beyond that, that's a lot of emissions that those trucks are putting out. That's not good for our environment. But beyond the transportation challenges, there's this bad boy, methane. Methane is what you get when you take organic compounds and you put them with bacteria in an anaerobic environment where there isn't any air. And that's exactly what you get with a landfill. You're packing trash on top of trash on top of trash, and you're getting major methane production. The problem with methane is it's one of the most dangerous substances for our atmosphere. In fact, the Swedish Bioenergy Association conducted a recent study and found that methane is 20 times worse for our atmosphere than carbon dioxide. So we do have to control greenhouse gases and carbon, absolutely. But methane is where we have to start. And the biggest producer of methane are landfills in the United States. So because of these transportation challenges, because of the methane, landfills don't represent a sustainable solution to our waste management problems. But there is a solution out there. We can actually use incineration to burn our garbage. But when we use that incineration to create energy, and then we use that energy to create electricity, that's when we get waste-to-energy programs. And it's a fairly simple process. We take refuse-derived fuel, which is garbage minus the ferrite metals, the glass, any recyclables we can do, and then we shred it, and we size it so it burns efficiently in a boiler. And once we throw it into the boiler, we'll be able to generate power. So we go from waste to RDF to power. Now, the actual biomass power generation system as a whole has a few more steps. We start with gathering the fuel and sorting it. We do this on site, so you can have a constant stream into a biomass facility. Then we use combustion inside the boiler. We feed that fuel in using a grate, and we burn it. This is actually a video of inside the boiler in a plant that I was at just outside of Cardiff in the UK. It's really hot. There's a lot of BTUs there, and we can use that energy to boil water and create steam. That steam then in turn will push a turbine, and we can generate some electricity. And then when we have that power, we can either use it locally for a company, or we can connect to the grid and provide it for communities. But the most important part of a biomass power generation system is the air pollution control, because this is the part that makes it a sustainable solution for the future. It makes it feasible to put these plants in communities, so we don't have to truck our trash hundreds of miles away and waste that fuel. We can burn our own trash right here. We can create our own power, and we can create our own jobs here. Let's talk about air pollution control and how we can actually pull those types of chemicals out of that flue gas. When we burn things, when you incinerate something, it's common sense, there's going to be some bad chemicals that are created. Now, there's really bad chemicals like dioxin, but there's other chemicals like mercury and lead that in very small amounts aren't that dangerous. But we want to make sure that all the byproducts from these plants are as safe as possible. So recently, in the last few years, there's been a number of technological advances that make these plants feasible. Everything from scrubbers that use ammonia to pull out sulfur dioxide, to other scrubbers that take out nitrous oxide. We actually have a video here of a brand new technology where we force the flue gas out of the combustion unit into this box. And in this box, there are a bunch of ceramic tubes. And we keep this box at a very hot temperature. And the air with all that particulate, all that combustion soot and everything else is forced up against these ceramic tubes. The air can pass through cleanly, but the tubes are so dense that all that particulate remains on the outside, the heavy metals, the ash, the toxins. We then use an air jet to blow it down as the clean air goes to the top, and we collect all of this ash at the bottom. We're able to superheat this ash and thus ensure that we're breaking down all of those harmful chemicals in the end. And this doesn't even go to waste, because we can take this ash and we can put it in construction products like cinder blocks and asphalt, and we can actually use it after the process is over. But these types of pollution control technology are what is now making these plants feasible for large-scale development, both in America and abroad. As an entire system to generate power, it's clean, it's efficient, and it's cost-effective. And it's popular now in a number of parts of the world. In Switzerland, for example, they passed a ban in 2000 and said that you could no longer put anything in a landfill in the entire country of Switzerland. So for 10 years, They haven't put a piece of trash in the ground. They have either recycled or burned every piece of garbage their country created. And it's been expanding. There are now cutting-edge facilities in the Netherlands, in Austria, and all over Europe. There were over 400 facilities that incinerate waste using this new clean technology. So they're taking care of their garbage problem and they're creating electricity for their communities. But America is lagging behind. We haven't caught up with this technology, and public awareness just isn't there. So we can build awareness about this technology here. And it's important, not just because we can take care of our garbage problem, but because in this post-9/11 world, it can help us break our addiction to foreign oil. We can actually use our own garbage to produce power, so we don't have to use fossil fuels. Our company is working to promote this type of technology here and abroad. In the Balkans, we're working specifically in Kosovo to bring power to rural areas that don't have stable electricity. In El Salvador, we're working with landfills not just to divert new waste from current landfills, but we're actually mining old landfills that have already been closed, digging up that material and burning it to create power. So we're actually turning the clock back on landfilling. In the Caribbean, we've got a perfect situation for these types of systems because it's very expensive to bring in barges of fuel oil to create electricity on these islands. And they're also paying to have the trash that they create taken off the island. So instead of paying for oil and paying to have their trash taken away, we can burn their trash. And we can create jobs on those islands, and we can ensure that they have more economic stability because they don't have to pay for that fuel oil. But probably our most exciting project is in Sierra Leone. And these types of biomass power systems are able to not just provide electricity, they can have real, deep impacts on the cultures and communities in which we work. We're used to electricity. Most of us have probably not been to a city that doesn't have electricity. But in Sierra Leone, they don't take it for granted. Over 90% of the country has no access to electricity. But when we put a program like this in the communities, we create employment. We train skilled workers, local workers, how to operate these plants themselves. The electrification helps with healthcare because you're able to provide water purification and you're able to power hospitals and make safer environments for residents. But most importantly, you're able to support education. It may be as simple as just lighting a classroom adequately so they can read, or powering technology that helps students learn. But, even more interestingly, it can help gender equality. Because in Sierra Leone, 75% of a woman's time is spent searching for cooking fuel. That's what they have to do every day. But when we go and provide electricity, they're able to take that time and go to school and invest in their education. And that can make a big difference in their lives. It's not just a top-down corporate effort. Our team works with everyone from local landholders and stakeholders to chiefdoms, regional administrators. But really, the impact on the next generation is where you can really see the moving effects of these types of systems. Waste-to-energy systems are a clean, cost-effective, and efficient way of not only dealing with our garbage problems, but also of creating electricity for our communities. So the next time that you're taking out your garbage, and you're walking to the corner with your trash, just stop for a moment, even though you're in your bustling morning routine, and think. Because that garbage, it may have the power to change everything.